Hey everyone, this is Thonius. As a content creator, I've been provided a copy of Desdemona to share with you a first look. What you can see is the index that you have access to as well. What's pretty impressive is her base speed, 140. You want her to go as quickly as possible for obvious reasons that you'll see here in a second. If you compare that to Garnet at 141, by the way, Steven Universe fans, she's got the same name as Garnet, but the character design of Pearl. But I digress. Let's get back to the game. So back down to 140, we've got Divine Yolanda. Halia goes down one more at 139, and then Windstreck's a classic at 133, and Sacred Windstreck's at 127. But Goobeg is at 152. I just found out. I never realized he was so fast. All right, so Desdemona, her recommended set is Raider. Again, makes obvious sense. You want her to go first. It's very important. So I've got her just for right now, a set that I had with Marion Shadowblood. And I like to put the same gear that I have with another character that I have. Even though Marion Shadowblood is at level 70 and I have her fully ascended and compared here to level 58, it's still pretty comparable, right? Like sometimes when you look at the base stats, what does that feel like in the real world? So I like to do this to know ahead of time, like, oh, she's going to be about this kind of defense compared to how I experienced Marion Shadowblood. So that's what I like to do, is compare that as much as I compare the base stats. So let's go over her kit. So her trait happens every time. If you do your basic or your ultimate, Nightmare happens. Active ability casts apply Nightmare. That cannot be resisted, which is ridiculous, to the primary target for 1 round. And it will not trigger counterattacks. So, you can throw this at Geralt and he won't even attack you back. It's ridiculous. And so what is Nightmare? They're unable to move actively. They're effectively kind of stunned, right? But then they actually work for you. So that's what they mean about move actively. When an enemy attacks a target other than this unit, so anyone from your team, if they attack someone, that puppet is going to also do another attack. And if you thought we're done, we're not. Part of the damage received by the applier will be redirected to this unit. So they're kind of like a pin cushion for you as well. Her basic, Shadow Erosion, it deals 130% damage to one enemy, but it also applies no positive effects. So you can't shield them, you can't buff them for 2 turns. So they get no positive effects. And it reduces the ultimate ability's cooldown by 1 turn. Just makes them sitting ducks the entire time. And remember how she couldn't trigger a counterattack? Well, she gets it as her passive. So if you attack her, she attacks you back. But not only does she attack you back, so does her puppet, which is a member of the opposing person's team. So it's just all this damage back to you. I'm not exactly sure if the damage amount from the puppet is their stats or your stats. I was watching Zeppelin's video, another content creator, and he tested whether Bocce would trigger his rolling attack, and it didn't. So at least that's a positive as far as being able to defend yourself against her, is that they don't trigger all of their kind of special abilities. It's just like an attack. Here's the puppet manipulation part of it. It deals 150% damage to the attacker, and it applies defense down 2 to them for 1 turn, minus 50% defense. And it removes 2 positive effects if they're booked. So it's just 1 positive effect normally. I did grab these screenshots from the index, so that's why it's showing like a fully booked character. So let's get into the ultimate. In the promo video, it makes them look like they're all completely dying, but that's not what's happening here. So with Spirit Sacrifice, everyone gets a silence. I mean, they get damage, they get silence, they cannot be resisted, and they get unhealable for 2 rounds. And of course, then the one that you specifically targeted gets the puppet put on them, which was Nightmare, right? That was that effect that can't be removed. So all of this crowd control is happening all at once. She's not completely invincible, and I'll show you that here in a second, but she's ridiculously powerful. So for kicks, I thought, why don't I take her into PvE and give her a spin? So with Void Tower 47, I've been stuck there for a few days now. So I thought, well, what happens if I add a little bit of crowd control in there? I don't remember all the attempts I tried and who I replaced with her, but I'm just going to go ahead and give it a go. I just wanted to see what would happen with her, and you'll see here. Nathalia actually needs to clean everybody off, so I just did a basic so that she doesn't waste her ultimate. And then Nathalia does clean that mob. And then I'll stun Lunar Melisa so that she doesn't do her group taunt. And then I'm going to throw up this ultimate. And I'm going to target Savannah because I don't want her to die. And then I'm going to just try and clean off everybody else. You'll see this doesn't work. So I wanted to show an example that Desdemona is not a god. I mean, she pretty much is as close as you can to be a broken LD. But she's not a boss monster, basically. I think this proves that theory that the people, that the mobs don't use their own attack power and their own skills. I think it just uses her attack power. Because I think Savannah would be finishing all these people off with her huge attacks. I'll have to see here. Like, yeah, she only did 4,000 damage there. I think Savannah could have done a lot more than that. You'll see it right here. Yeah, that's 21,000 there. Granted, that was her ultimate ability, but I'm still having a hunch that it's Desdemona's stats that they're basing everything off of. Then I thought, well, what if I brought in Blackhorn and kept her healed up, but they just targeted her? I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but basically, yeah, that attempt didn't work. And this whole team just wiped. So in this last attempt, I decided to bring in Charles. I thought, well, since this red, I think his name is Mulak, this red tree was hitting so hard, and he was the only one that wasn't truly being controlled. So I thought, why don't I just bring in Charles and keep him in check? And I'm just going to fast forward to the end. This is about Desdemona, not about Void Tower Hard, so just wanted to show that I was able to complete this finally. So then I thought, what if I take her into Queen of Tides? Let's see what happens. I have been able to clear Hell Stage 4. I can do auto at Hell Stage 3, but I was still nervous. I went back and I decided I'm going to do a Hell Stage 1 because I didn't want to just be completely out of my element. And I replaced Marion Shadowblood, which was doing a lot of my DPS for me. And it still actually ended up working out. So one of the biggest problems with Hell Stages, especially with Queen of Tides, are the huge mobs that are at the very beginning. But if you just keep one of them completely controlled, like you don't have to worry about stuns, you don't have to worry about taunts. It's just completely controlled, and it's adding DPS. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. So you can see here she controls him. I didn't start with her ultimate because I wanted to see how things played out. If I needed to silence them, because they do their big ultimate ability as their second turn. So I thought if this looked troublesome, I'm going to use her ultimate then to do a silence on everyone, but I didn't even have to do that. We were able to clear off one of them. The puppet cleared off the other one for us. And then, yeah, we were able to clean this part up. And then we'll just get to the queen. I think this was one of the more exciting things that I wanted to test, even when I first heard about her. I was like, could she control the elites? And yep, she sure can. So I threw up the ultimate on one of the elites, the one that's always healing. So I thought, well, what if I just control that elite the whole time? And look at those little puppet strings, those little gossamer iridescent puppet strings. And so if you just keep that controlled the entire time, you can just focus on the boss. You don't even have to worry about taking down the elites. And you'll see too that the elite is attacking the queen too. Like this, I don't know, I'm sorry, this feels like vindication for all those times that elite has been healing up the queen while you're trying to take her down. I'm like, how about you hit her for a change? And I'm sorry, but there is just something hilarious about this whole experience. So I'm just focusing on the boss. On auto, I think obviously you'd have to probably focus to try and take the puppet down. I don't know how that would work because you'd have to really DPS the puppet quickly. So auto might not necessarily work, but I'm just showing a pretty interesting setup. And I actually made a mistake here. I ended up doing Desdemona's ultimate onto the boss. I targeted the boss, and that meant that I wasn't controlling the right elite anymore. But that wasn't too much trouble because the right elite just ends up jumping in for an attack and didn't do a heal, so. There he did the attack. And then Desdemona goes in, does a control again. And then the amazing Rachel, and then the puppet once again finishes it off. Just hilarious. I can't get enough joy out of that. Now, other content creators are doing a really great job with PvP, so I'm not doing too much, but just for finishing this video off, I just wanted to do a very quick arena battle. I'm not going to take the win. I just wanted to see what would happen if I came in here and used her for a little bit. Apologies for the siren in the background. They're going to need an ambulance very shortly. And I wasn't even worrying about her because I knew she would just be puppeted the entire time. It's funny that they can't even resist it. I think she did the stun too. So when she hit, so maybe I'm wrong. I guess they do have some of the skills. But yeah, so I exited out of there. I didn't want to take the win because, you know, this was given to me. So Desdemona was given to me. I didn't want to take any unfair advantages using her. So interestingly, that was from the promo. But then the one that we're forced to listen to from here on out is this bizarre lullaby with this awful voice. And I'm sorry, but that's really cringy. I wish we could go back to the promo version of it, but hey, I'll still take her. Don't get me wrong. I'm still going to try and roll for her. Because I really, really want her as a regular one. She'll disappear for me in 6 days. But I might still try and play around with her a little bit and try and see what else she might be good for. If you have any other questions or you want to see her tried in some other way, let me know. I think she might be good in GVE because there's that one, I think it's called First Blood or something, or something where the more buffs you have up, then the more turns you get. And she puts a ridiculous amount of buffs up, right? So she puts the puppet up, she puts the sleep, the defense down, and not the sleep, the silence and the unhealable. And so she might give lots of extra turns and be able to control the situation a little bit. So I think she'd be good in GVE, PvE, PvP. She's just a great character. You know, she is a dark, you know, a light dark. So it makes sense that she's super powerful, but everyone's complaining how broken she is. And I get it. I sympathize. I am new back to this game after about a year, so I do need a little bit of catch up. So I'm hoping that I do get her because I'm just getting obliterated in RTA. So if I have something, just anything that can kind of squeak me back in, this is just one character, right? So there are some people come in with 4, or they have 5, and you can only ban 1. And so you can ban one of them, but it doesn't matter because they have SSA, right? They have the shark guy who does all the counterattacks, and they have a Frony, and then they have that dragon woman, and then they have Divine Yolanda, and like they're just, any one of them can wipe your team, just any one, and then your whole team is dead. So for people complaining that, oh my gosh, Desdemona is OP, as somebody who's a mid-level player, everything is OP. So yeah, what else can I say? I'm just hoping to get her just so I can kind of maybe step my toe into the water of RTA and maybe have a little bit of a chance, but I'm not getting my hopes up. I think it's a great character. I am excited to try for her, and gosh, I really hope I get her, and I hope I get her soon. She's super, super awesome. All right, guys, take care. Hit me up on Discord or YouTube. Leave a comment below here. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Twitch. Subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. And I appreciate you checking this out. Take care and see you in the game.